Hello and welcome to 2 Minutes with Terry. Today we are going to conclude our series on the Beatitudes, and we are going to be talking about Matthew 5:10, the last Beatitude. And it says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." He says that you are blessed, happy, joyful when you are persecuted for righteousness. People are persecuted for a lot of different things. That is why he specifically said for righteousness' sake. Righteousness here means that we embody the person of Jesus in our everyday life. For example, we're living a godly life. We're following Jesus, living like Jesus did by making Jesus the most important thing in our lives. And when we live righteously, people around us don't like it. So they are mean to us and they talk bad about us. And this is the persecution for righteousness' sake. This is why we are persecuted by our friends and our family and the people of God, because we are following Jesus and not religion. When we are persecuted for being a Jesus freak, then God will pour more grace and more peace and more of his presence out on us. We will find a greater sense of God in our lives, and God will reward us for being like Jesus, because he was also persecuted for the sake of the kingdom. R.T. Kendall makes this point in his book, The Sermon on the Mount, and he says, this explains in part why Jesus calls those blessed who are persecuted because of righteousness. The kingdom of heaven is brought to us with an amazing sense of reality. Heaven comes down, God scoops down to touch those who are persecuted. So he is saying that the kingdom of God becomes nearer to us when we are persecuted. And as a result, God gives us more revelation. He speaks to us clearer. There's greater miracles, greater visions, and more prayers get answered, and we get more of him. This is our reward in the persecution. We get the kingdom of heaven and everything that is in it right now. So as we close this series, I want to reiterate some things. Jesus came to set up a whole new kingdom, the kingdom of God. This is why the Sermon on the Mount is so crucial for us to understand. Jesus spoke out against the religious rulers and the government of the time and really wanted nothing to do with them. Why? Because everything with religion has to do with our outward action, where Jesus was teaching us that our inward condition is much more important. This sermon was more about our hearts rather than our actions. Jesus was establishing a whole new way of thinking about who God is. He is not a dictator like religion has taught us, but he is a loving father who just wants to be nearer to his children. You may have noticed a theme in these Beatitudes, one that is about letting go of ourselves and letting God come into our circumstances. And the more we let go of self, the more we will be blessed, which means happy, to be envied, and spiritually prosperous with life, joy, and satisfaction in God's favor and salvation, regardless of our outward condition. This is what an inward transformation looks like. So thank you for joining me on this series of the Beatitudes, and I will see you in the next series.